Hi, friends. Today I want to share a new story with you. I hope you enjoy it. The day my sister Rebecca's perfect life fell apart started just like any other day in her fancy world. She was throwing a huge engagement party at her mansion, the same one our parents left her in their will 5 years ago. I wasn't invited. I hadn't been welcome in her life since the terrible accident that took our parents away. I still remember that rainy night. The police said their car lost control on a mountain road and fell into a deep ravine. Rebecca got everything, the family business, the houses, the money. I got nothing. The will is clear, the lawyer had said, avoiding my eyes. Everything goes to Rebecca. Back then, I was 23 and had just finished college. Rebecca was 27 and already seen as a successful businesswoman. At least, that's what people believed. But the truth? She never worked a single day. Our parents' money bought her degrees, her powerful friends, and her whole fancy life. For 5 years, I struggled. I worked 2 jobs and lived in a tiny apartment in a rough part of town. Sometimes, Rebecca would see me at the store or a cafe and act like she didn't know me. Once, when I begged her for help with my medical bills, she laughed in my face. "You're pathetic, Sarah," she said, pushing her designer sunglasses up. "That's why Mom and Dad left you nothing. They knew you'd just waste it, like always." But the truth has a way of coming out. And Rebecca's perfect life was hiding the darkest secret of all. It all started 3 months ago, when Detective James Morrison knocked on my door. He was older now, with gray hair, but I knew him right away. He was the lead investigator when our parents died. "I haven't been able to sleep," he said, sitting at my small kitchen table. Something about the case never felt right. After I retired last month, I decided to look into it again. What I found? He pulled out a thick folder and an old USB drive. "You need to see this." The video was blurry but clear enough. It showed Rebecca meeting 2 men in a parking garage 3 days before the accident. They exchanged money and talked. Then I heard Rebecca's voice. "Make it look like an accident. I don't care how. Just make sure Sarah gets nothing." My whole world froze. The coffee mug slipped from my hands and broke on the floor. Detective Morrison's voice sounded far away as he kept talking. He said he had found one of the men who helped Rebecca, a man now dying of cancer in prison. That man had confessed everything. "Your sister paid them to mess with your parents' car," he said gently. "She knew they were going to change their will. They had found out she was stealing money from the company, that her degrees were fake, everything. They were going to leave everything to you instead." I sat there in shock while he showed me all the proof: bank transfers, phone calls, statements from witnesses. Rebecca hadn't just taken our parents' money. She had planned their murder to get it. And she made sure I was left with nothing. "We can go to the police," Detective Morrison said. But I had a better idea. Rebecca deserved a different kind of ending. That's how I ended up outside her mansion on the day of her fancy engagement party, watching rich guests arrive in expensive cars. She had gone all out. There were ice sculptures, champagne fountains, even a string quartet playing music in the garden. Her fiancé, Thomas Wellington III, came from old money. Marrying him would lock in her place among the wealthy elite. I touched the USB drive in my pocket. It had all the evidence Morrison gave me. Then I fixed my waitress uniform. It had been surprisingly easy to get a job with the catering company, and walked through the service entrance. The party was in full swing when I saw her. Rebecca looked stunning in a designer gown, covered in our mother's jewelry, laughing with her rich friends. She didn't even look at me as I handed her a glass of champagne. "Thank you," she said without really seeing me. Then she did a double take. Her face turned pale. "Sarah, what are you doing here?" "Security." "Is everything okay, sweetheart?" Thomas came over, concerned. He looked kind and totally unaware of who she really was. "Just a small problem with the staff," Rebecca said quickly, grabbing his arm. "Sarah was just leaving." "Actually," I said loudly so others could hear, "I think everyone here would like to know what Detective Morrison found about our parents' accident." Rebecca dropped her champagne glass. It shattered on the floor. "You're lying," she whispered, her face white with fear. "Security, get her out of here." But it was already too late. Detective Morrison had walked in through the front doors, looking serious even in retirement. He wasn't alone. 2 detectives and the district attorney were with him. Rebecca Montgomery, one of the detectives said, his voice loud and clear, "We need to ask you some questions about what happened the night of October 15th, 5 years ago." The giant screen meant for showing photos of Rebecca and Thomas's love story lit up. But instead of cute pictures, everyone saw the security footage, Rebecca meeting 2 men in a dark parking garage. They watched as she handed them money and said the words that changed everything. That's not what it looks like," Rebecca cried, backing away. Her perfect makeup was starting to smudge as she panicked. "Sarah is lying. She's always been jealous of me. Thomas, please say something." But Thomas had already stepped back, disgusted. Whispers spread like wildfire through the crowd. Rebecca's perfect life was falling apart, just like her champagne glass on the marble floor. "Mrs. Montgomery," Detective Morrison said, serious now, "I think it's time we finish the conversation we started 5 years ago." The next few hours were a blur, police taking statements, guests rushing to their cars, and Rebecca yelling and denying everything. I watched as the officers put handcuffs on her. Her makeup was smeared with tears, and her fancy dress was wrinkled from struggling. "I did everything for this family," she screamed as they took her away. "I deserve that money. Sarah was always the favorite. They were going to ruin everything." Thomas stood frozen, still holding the ring box he planned to give her at the party's big moment. His family's fortune was old and respected. Reputation meant everything to them. As Rebecca got into the police car, his father pulled Thomas aside, whispering urgently about how to fix the damage. But I wasn't finished yet. Detective Morrison had dug deep. He didn't just find proof about the murder. He uncovered years of Rebecca's crimes, stealing money, hiding it, cheating on taxes. The proof was strong. "Your parents were suspicious," he told me later at the police station. "They hired a private investigator 3 months before they died. They found out Rebecca had been stealing for years, faking papers, bribing people. They were heartbroken." He gave me another file. "It was in your father's private safe. We found it during this new investigation." Inside was a draft of a new will, written just days before their deaths. They wanted to give everything to me because they knew Rebecca's crimes would soon come out. "There's more," Detective Morrison said quietly. "Your mother left this for you." He pulled out an old envelope. Inside was a letter and a small key. "My dear Sarah, if you're reading this, something has happened to us. I always knew you were strong and honest. Rebecca, we failed her. We gave her too much and expected too little. The key opens my private safe at First National Bank. Inside is something that will protect your future, no matter what happens." The safe held documents showing a secret fortune, investments, accounts in other countries, properties Rebecca didn't know about. "Your mother was smart with money," Detective Morrison said. "She built her own empire, separate from your father's company, and she left it all to you." The next weeks flew by. Rebecca's trial was quick because the evidence was too strong. She pleaded guilty to avoid the death penalty and got several life sentences. I went to every day of the trial, watching her perfect image fall apart as the truth came out. Her rich friends left her. Thomas's family made a harsh public statement against her. The business world, which once praised her, now exposed her crimes in magazines. They called her the Black Widow heiress, the murderous socialite brought down by Sisters Justice. But the biggest surprise came at the hearing about her assets. Not only did I get our parents' original estate, but because of Rebecca's crimes, all her money was taken away. The judge looked at the new will and the proof of her crimes and ordered everything given to me, the mansion, the business, all the money she stole. "You can't do this," Rebecca screamed when the judge spoke. "I built that life. It's mine." But no one believed her anymore. Her words sounded empty, just like her soul. "I sold the mansion. Too many painful memories. Instead, I moved into a nice penthouse downtown and took over our parents' company. Working hard all those years taught me the value of honesty and effort. Under my leadership, the company grew. But my parents' legacy was more than money. I started the Montgomery Foundation for Victim Support, helping families hurt by financial crimes. Every year, we fund investigations for unsolved cases, giving families closure, like I finally had. Detective Morrison joined our foundation's board after retiring. Your parents would be proud, he told me at our opening event. Not just for your success, but for how you're helping others. I visited Rebecca once in prison. She looked years older in months, her designer clothes gone, replaced by an orange jumpsuit. Her once perfect hands were now rough and cracked. Was it worth it? I asked. All the lies, the murder, the perfect life you built on our parents' graves? She looked at me through the glass, her eyes empty. You don't understand, she whispered. I had to be special. I had to be perfect. They were going to take it all away. No, Rebecca, I said, turning to leave. You took it all away yourself. As I left the prison, I touched the locket I now wore, the one from Mom's safe. Inside was a photo of our family from happier times. Her greed and jealousy destroyed everything. I kept the locket as a reminder that true wealth isn't about money or status. It's about honesty and kindness. The company thrived with honest work. Thomas, who apologized months after Rebecca's arrest for not seeing the truth, became a trusted business partner. Life puts people where they belong. 5 years after Rebecca's perfect world fell apart, I stood at our parents' graves, placing fresh flowers. The morning dew shined on the stones like tiny diamonds, more beautiful than any jewelry Rebecca ever wore. We found justice, I whispered. And I promise, your legacy will help others find theirs too. On my way back to the car, I saw a young woman struggling with her grocery bags. I stopped to help her, remembering my own hard times. She thanked me, not knowing who I was. Not knowing I was now one of the richest women in the city. But that's the thing about real wealth. It's not about mansions or designer clothes or parties. It's about who you are when no one's watching. Rebecca never understood that. She wanted the perfect life, so badly she killed for it. But in the end, she lost everything that truly mattered. Me? I had everything that mattered: purpose, honesty, a chance to make a difference, and most of all, peace. Something Rebecca's perfect life never gave her. As I drove away from the cemetery, the morning sun painted the sky with hope. Sometimes justice takes time, but it always comes. And when it does, it shows that the most perfect lives are often built on the darkest lies.